The text message glowed on my phone screen like a sinister warning. We need to talk about what happened in Denver. Meet me at Cafe Luna, 3 p.m. My hands trembled as I read it again. Louis, my brother-in-law, had finally played his card. I'm Willow, and until last week, I thought I'd buried my past deep enough that it would never resurface. But here I was, sitting across from Louis at a corner table, watching him stir his untouched coffee with calculated precision. "You know, Willow," he said, his voice eerily calm, "when I started looking into your background for the family business merger, I never expected to find something this interesting." He slid his phone across the table, displaying a news article from 8 years ago. My throat went dry. That case was sealed. Nothing's ever really sealed these days, is it? Louis smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Imagine how devastated Olive would be if she knew her perfect little sister was involved in corporate espionage. That's not what happened, and you know it. I kept my voice steady, though my heart was racing. I was cleared of all charges. But the scandal alone would destroy you, your reputation, your marriage to Santiago, your position at the company. He leaned forward. Unless, of course, we can come to an arrangement. I gripped my coffee cup tighter. What do you want, Louis? For now, just your support at the next board meeting. Vote against the audit proposal. The audit your wife, my sister, requested. I shook my head. Olive suspects something's wrong with the books. She's not stupid. No, but she's trusting. Too trusting. Louis checked his watch. You have until Friday to decide. Otherwise, everyone learns about Denver. After he left, I sat there for another hour, my coffee growing cold. My phone buzzed with a text from Haley. "Still on for dinner tonight?" I needed my best friend more than ever. "Can we make it my place? Need to talk." Later that evening, I paced my kitchen while Haley listened to the whole story. The wine in her glass remained untouched, a first in our 15 years of friendship. "That manipulative bastard," she finally said. "Have you told Santiago?" "I can't." I stopped pacing. "The Denver incident. It's complicated. I was young, desperate, and made a terrible mistake. The charges were dropped because I helped expose a bigger fraud, but the damage was done. Santiago believes in me so completely. If he knew." "Hey." Haley stood up and grabbed my shoulders. "Stop. You were cleared. You did the right thing in the end. That's what matters. Try explaining that to Olive. She idolizes Louis." I pulled away and leaned against the counter. "You should see how she looks at him, Haley. Like he hung the moon. Meanwhile, he's asking me to help him hide something from her." My phone buzzed again. Olive's name flashed on the screen. "Family dinner Sunday. Dad's asking for everyone to come. Says he has news." "Perfect timing," I muttered, showing Haley the message. "You have to tell them about Louis," Haley insisted. "And risk losing my sister forever. You know how she gets. Remember the Christmas incident? When she didn't speak to Mara for 6 months because she suggested Louis might be flirting with the neighbor." Haley shook her head. "Your sister needs to wake up." The doorbell rang, making us both jump. It was Santiago, home early from his business trip. I quickly wiped my eyes as he walked in. "Ladies' night," he asked, kissing my cheek. "Hope I'm not interrupting." "Actually, I was just leaving," Haley said, gathering her things. At the door, she hugged me tight and whispered, "Call me tomorrow. We'll figure this out." That night, lying beside Santiago, I stared at the ceiling fan spinning above us. His steady breathing usually calmed me, but not tonight. My phone lit up with another message from Louis. Tick-tock. I turned away from the light, my mind racing. Louis was right about one thing. Nothing stays buried forever. But he'd made a crucial mistake in his calculations. He thought he was dealing with the same scared woman from 8 years ago, the one who ran from Denver with her tail between her legs. He had no idea what I was capable of now. I reached for my laptop in the dark. If Louis wanted to play this game, fine. But this time, I wouldn't be the only one with secrets exposed. It was time to find out what my brother-in-law was really hiding in those books Olive wanted to audit. "You're telling me Louis has access to the company's offshore accounts?" Haley's voice crackled through my earbuds as I sat in my parked car outside Cooper Industries. That's not even legal without Olive's signature. Exactly. I watched employees filter out of the building for lunch break. And guess who conveniently handles all the paperwork for my sister? God, Willow, this is bigger than blackmail. Papers rustled on Haley's end. As a corporate accountant, she knew exactly what we were looking at. If he's embezzling, I need proof. I checked my watch. Lewis has his weekly golf game right now. I'm going in. Wait, what? You're breaking into his office. Not breaking in. I have legitimate access. I'm still a board member. I grabbed my laptop bag. Just stay on the line? Like I'd let you do this alone. Haley scoffed. Using my key card, I walked through the lobby with practiced confidence. Morning, Jerry. I called to the security guard. Ms. Willow, thought you worked from home on Wednesdays. Forgot some files for tomorrow's meeting. I held up my laptop bag as proof. You know how it is. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt endless. When the doors opened, I nearly collided with Mara, my younger sister. Willow, she frowned. What are you doing here? I thought you had that charity thing today. Changed plans. I forced a smile. Just need to grab something from my office. Well, hurry up. Olive's been trying to reach you. Something about Sunday dinner. I'll call her later. I waited until Mara disappeared into the elevator before speed walking to Lewis's office. You're clear, Haley confirmed in my ear. But hurry. Inside Lewis's office, I went straight to his computer. Okay, what am I looking for? Start with his email, any correspondence with banks, especially international ones. I plugged in my USB drive, running the program Haley had given me. You're sure this will work? It'll copy his entire email history without leaving a trace. Just give it 5 minutes. While the program ran, I rifled through his desk drawers. Nothing unusual until I reached the bottom right drawer, locked. Haley, he's got a locked drawer. Leave it. We don't want him knowing someone was there. Wait, I noticed something. There's a business card stuck in the crack. Using a letter opener, I carefully fished it out. What is it? Some investment firm in the Cayman Islands. I photographed both sides with my phone. And there's a handwritten number on the back. Suddenly, voices in the hallway made me freeze. Just need to grab those files from my office. Lewis's voice carried through the door. Shit! I yanked the USB drive out, closed everything, and dove under his desk just as the door opened. I thought you had golf, a woman's voice, Olive's, said. Got rained out. Listen, about that audit. I know you think I'm being paranoid, Olive sighed. But the numbers don't add up, Louie. As CEO, I need to know where our money is going. And I've shown you the reports, everything's accounted for. Then why won't you let me bring in external auditors? My heart pounded so hard, I was sure they could hear it. Under the desk, I could see their feet, Lewis's expensive golf shoes, and Olive's red heels. Because it's a waste of money, Louis said smoothly. Besides, don't you trust me? A pause. Of course I do. They left shortly after, but I waited an extra 5 minutes before crawling out. My hands were shaking as I straightened my clothes. Willow, are you okay? Haley's voice reminded me she was still there. I'm fine. But Haley, I locked Lewis's office behind me. I think my sister's in trouble. Back in my car, I called up the photos of the business card, while Haley examined the copied emails on her end. This is bad, she said finally. These transactions. He's been moving money through shell companies for months, millions of dollars. Can we prove it's illegal? Not yet, but combined with those offshore accounts. Willow, you need to tell Olive. I started my car. She won't believe me. You heard her in there. She trusts him completely. Then what's your plan? I pulled out of the parking lot, my mind racing. Sunday dinner, Dad's making some kind of announcement. Everyone will be there. You're going to expose him in front of the whole family. No. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. I'm going to give him one chance to come clean, to resign and return the money quietly. And if he refuses, then I'll destroy him. The calm in my voice surprised even me. But first, we need more proof. And I think I know exactly where to find it. The country club's annual charity gala was in full swing when I spotted Louis across the ballroom, charming a group of investors. My brother-in-law caught my eye and raised his champagne glass with a smirk that made my blood boil. "Easy," Haley whispered beside me. "Remember why we're here." I smoothed my dress and forced a smile. "Right. Where's Olive?" By the silent auction. She looks upset. Making our way through the crowd, we found my sister staring at her phone, her usual composure cracking. "Olive?" I touched her arm. "What's wrong?" She quickly locked her screen. "Nothing, I'm fine." But her voice trembled. "Just tired. Louis has been working late every night this week." "Including weekends?" Haley asked innocently. Olive's face tightened. "He's dedicated to the company. So dedicated he's missing your anniversary dinner." I gestured to her evening gown. "That's why you're dressed up, right? He'll make it up to me." Olive grabbed another champagne from a passing waiter. "He always does." Before I could respond, Mara appeared. "There you are. Dad's looking for everyone. He wants a family photo." As we gathered near the grand staircase, I watched Louis make excuses to his group and join us. He slipped his arm around Olive's waist, but his eyes were on his phone. "Where's Santiago?" Dad asked, looking around. "Business trip," I replied. "Back tomorrow." "Always working. That husband of yours." Louis's comment carried an edge. "Must be lonely." I met his gaze. "At least he's where he says he is." The photographer interrupted our staring match, directing us into position. As camera flashes lit up the room, I felt my phone vibrate. A text from Haley. "Package delivered." While Louis was busy playing host, Haley had arranged for a courier to accidentally deliver sensitive documents to his home office instead of the company headquarters. Documents that would keep him occupied tomorrow morning, giving me time to access his real records. Later, as the gala wound down, I overheard Olive on the phone near the ladies' room. "What do you mean you're not coming home?" Her voice cracked. "Louis, it's our anniversary." "No, I understand. The investors are important." "Yes, okay. Love you too." She ended the call and pressed her forehead against the wall. "Olive," I approached carefully. She straightened immediately, wiping her eyes. "Don't start, Willow, please." "Start what?" "The judgment. The I told you so looks." She turned to face me. "I see how you watch him, like you're just waiting for him to fail." "I'm worried about you." "Well, don't be. I'm fine. Everything's fine." She grabbed her clutch. "I should go. Early meeting tomorrow." "Let me drive you home." "I have my car." She paused at the door. "Willow, do you ever wonder if we've grown too far apart?" My chest tightened. "Every day. Maybe we could do lunch next week, just us." "I'd like that." After she left, I found Haley by the bar. "We need to move faster. She's starting to suspect something's wrong." "The documents will keep him busy until noon," Haley confirmed. "I've got a friend in IT who can get us remote access to his home computer while he's distracted. And the security cameras. On a loop from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You'll have 4 hours." I nodded, then froze as I spotted Louis leaving through a side door, not toward the parking lot, but toward the hotel attached to the club. "Follow him," Haley urged. "I'll create a distraction if needed." Keeping my distance, I watched Louis enter the hotel lobby and head for the elevators. As the doors closed behind him, I caught the floor number, 12. At the front desk, I flashed my most convincing smile. "Hi, I'm supposed to meet Mr. Cooper for a late business meeting. Could you remind me which room?" The clerk checked his computer, 1242, but he just went up with another guest. My stomach lurched. "Thank you." Back in the ballroom, I found Haley. "He's not working late with investors." "You don't know that for sure." "Room 1242, I grabbed my coat. "Tomorrow isn't just about finding financial records anymore. I need proof of everything." "Willow." Haley caught my arm. "Be careful. Men like Louis. When they're cornered, they're dangerous." "So am I." I headed for the exit, my resolve hardening. And unlike him, I have nothing left to lose. The security code to Louis and Olive's house hadn't changed since last Christmas. I slipped inside, my rubber gloves catching on the doorknob. The house felt different in the morning silence, threatening, almost. "I'm in," I whispered into my phone. "Louis just called the office," Haley reported. "He's furious about the mixed-up delivery. Should keep him busy for at least 2 hours." I headed straight for his home office. Starting the download now. The USB drive Haley had prepared began copying Louis's hard drive. While waiting, I attacked the locked filing cabinet with the key I'd had copied from Olive's set during a recent sisterly lunch. "Willow," Santiago's voice nearly stopped my heart. "Are you here?" "Santiago?" I hissed into the phone. "Haley, why is my husband here? His flight must have landed early. Want me to call him?" But Santiago was already climbing the stairs. I yanked the USB drive out, shoved the files back, and ducked into the adjacent bathroom just as he reached the second floor. "Honey?" His footsteps passed the bathroom. "I saw your car outside." My phone buzzed. Another text from Louis. "Hope you're ready to play ball at tomorrow's board meeting. Would hate for Santiago to learn what kind of woman he really married." Santiago's voice came closer. "Willow?" I flushed the toilet and stepped out, forcing a smile. "Hey, you're home early. What are you doing here?" He looked confused. "Olive said you had meetings all morning." Think fast. "Left my laptop here during Sunday dinner. Olive said I could pick it up." "In the bathroom? Had to pee?" I tried to guide him toward the stairs, but he wasn't moving. "Willow." His voice turned serious. "What's really going on? You've been acting strange for weeks. Sneaking around, whispering on the phone." "It's nothing." "Is there—" He swallowed hard. "Is there someone else?" "What?" "No." I grabbed his hands. "Santiago, no. Never." "Then what?" The front door opened downstairs. Luis's voice carried up. "Just need to grab those files, and I'll be right back." Santiago saw the panic in my eyes. Without a word, he pulled me into the guest bedroom, closing the door silently behind us. Luis's footsteps entered his office. Papers shuffled, drawers opened and closed. "Damn it," Luis muttered. Then louder, "Hello? Anyone here?" We stayed frozen until his footsteps retreated and the front door slammed. Santiago turned to me, his expression unreadable. "Start talking." So I did. Not about Denver, I couldn't, not yet, but about Luis's embezzlement, his affairs, the blackmail. With each word, Santiago's face darkened. "I'll kill him," he said when I finished. "No," I squeezed his arm. "I have a plan, but I need proof of everything." "The hotel room," Santiago said suddenly. "Room 1242. You said he goes there regularly?" I nodded. "I have a client who owns that hotel chain. One call, and we can get the security footage." For the first time in weeks, I felt tears form. "You believe me?" Just like that. "Willow." He cupped my face. "I've known something was wrong. I thought—" "Well, it doesn't matter what I thought. I trust you. Whatever he has on you, whatever happened in Denver." "Santiago, no." He pressed his forehead to mine. "When you're ready to tell me, you will. Until then, let me help you take this bastard down." My phone buzzed. "Haley, Luis is heading back. Get out now." We barely made it to our cars before Luis's Mercedes turned into the driveway. As we drove away separately, me to work, Santiago to make that call, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. But at the office, reality crashed back. Olive was waiting in my doorway, her eyes red. "We need to talk," she said, closing the door behind her. "About Louis." My heart stopped. "What about him?" She pulled out her phone, showing me a photo. It was Louis entering the hotel with a woman I recognized as our head of marketing. "I followed him last night," Olive whispered. "After the gala, tell me I'm crazy. Tell me there's an explanation." I took her hand. "Sit down, sis. There's something you need to know." But before I could continue, my computer pinged. An email from Louis to the entire board. "Emergency meeting tomorrow. Agenda. Vote of no confidence in current CEO leadership. He was making his move against Olive, and I was running out of time. He's trying to take my company. Olive's voice cracked as she paced my office. My father's company? Sit down, I urged. You need to see this. I pulled up the financial records we'd uncovered. Lewis has been moving money through shell companies, millions of dollars, Olive. She shook her head. No, there has to be an explanation. My phone buzzed. Santiago. Got the footage? It's bad, really bad. Show her, I texted back. Minutes later, Santiago arrived with a USB drive. Without a word, he plugged it into my computer and pulled up the hotel's security footage. Olive watched in silence as Lewis entered room 1242 with different women on different dates. Her hands trembled as the timestamps showed his late meetings for what they really were. Stop. She turned away. I can't. There's more, I said gently. The offshore accounts, the falsified board documents. I said stop. She slammed her hand on my desk. Why are you doing this? Why do you hate him so much? Because he's destroying everything Dad built. I pulled out the Cayman Islands bank statements. Look at these numbers, Olive. Really look at them. She did. Her accountant's mind finally engaging past her emotions. These transfers, they don't match our books. Because he's been cooking them, using your signature. My signature? She grabbed the papers. I never signed these. Exactly. The color drained from her face. The audit, he fought so hard against it because it would expose everything. Santiago finished. Olive sank into a chair. The board meeting tomorrow. He's going to try to oust me. Not if we stop him first. I shared a look with Santiago. We have until morning to get everything in order. But Olive, we need you with us. She stared at the photo of Lewis and his latest mistress for a long moment. Then she straightened her spine, wiped her eyes, and when she looked up, I saw our father's steel in her gaze. What do you need me to do? The next few hours were a blur. Haley arrived with more financial evidence. Santiago's hotel contact sent additional footage. Olive called our family lawyer. Dad needs to know, Olive said suddenly. Before tomorrow. I checked the time. He'll still be at the office. 20 minutes later, we walked into our father's corner office. He took one look at our faces and put down his phone. What's happened? Olive laid out everything. The affairs, the embezzlement, the coup attempt. Dad listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each revelation. I trusted him, he said finally. Put him in charge of expansion, gave him access to everything. Dad, I'm so sorry, Olive whispered. I should have seen it. He shook his head. No, I should have listened when you wanted that audit. He turned to me. And you've been investigating this alone? Not alone, I said, thinking of Haley and Santiago. But there's something else you should know about why Lewis targeted me first. Denver, Dad said simply. I stared at him. You knew. I'm on the board of that company, remember? I knew the whole story. How they tried to frame you. How you helped expose their fraud instead. He smiled sadly. I was waiting for you to tell me in your own time. Fresh tears spilled down my cheeks. I thought you'd be ashamed. Of what? My daughter doing the right thing. He stood up. Now, about tomorrow's meeting. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Parking garage. Level 3. Now. Come alone, or the Denver files go public. Lewis, I breathed. What? Olive grabbed my phone. Willow, no, it's not safe. This might be our only chance to get him to confess. I headed for the door. Have security ready. And record everything. I'm coming with you, Santiago insisted. No. I touched his cheek. I need to do this alone, but stay close. The parking garage was dimly lit and eerily quiet. I found Lewis leaning against his car, smoking, a habit Olive had made him quit years ago. I have to admit, he said, you played this well. Getting Santiago involved, turning Olive against me. You did that yourself. He laughed darkly. Maybe, but I'm not going down alone. He pulled out his phone. One call, and everyone learns about Denver. Your perfect life implodes. Go ahead. I stepped closer. I'm not afraid anymore. No? He moved suddenly, grabbing my arm. You should be. Actually, I smiled. You should. The garage lights blazed on. Security officers emerged from behind pillars. And there was Olive, phone raised, recording everything. It's over, Lewis, she said. Let her go. His grip tightened for a moment. Then, finally, he released me. As security led him away, I heard him mutter, "You'll regret this." But watching him go, seeing Olive's strength, feeling Santiago's arms around me, I knew I wouldn't. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe again. Tomorrow's board meeting was going to be interesting. The boardroom crackled with tension as directors filed in. Louis sat at the far end, his usual smirk firmly in place, despite last night's confrontation. Beside me, Olive gripped her folder, so tight her knuckles turned white. You okay? I whispered. She nodded slightly. Just want this over with. Mara slipped into the seat across from us, confusion clear on her face. What's going on? Why's everyone so tense? Before anyone could respond, Dad called the meeting to order. We're here to address serious allegations regarding company leadership. Yes, Louis stood, straightening his tie. As outlined in my email, I move for a vote of no confidence in the current CEO. Murmurs rippled through the room. Louis clicked his presentation remote, and graphs appeared on the screen. Under the current leadership, our profits have declined, our expansion plans have stalled, and questionable decisions have put our company at risk. I watched the other board members' faces as Louis wove his web of lies. Some nodded, others frowned. Mara looked increasingly troubled. Furthermore, Louis continued, I have evidence of mismanagement that, actually, Olive cut in, her voice steady. I'd like to present some evidence of my own. She nodded to our IT director, who switched the display to our presentation. The first slide showed Louis's offshore accounts. What is this? Louis demanded. The truth. Olive stood. These are unauthorized transfers you made using my forged signature. Over $12 million, siphoned through shell companies in the Cayman Islands. The room erupted. Louis's face reddened. These documents are clearly fabricated. They're authenticated by 3 separate forensic accountants, Dad interrupted, as is the evidence of your other activities. The next slides appeared: hotel receipts, security footage, bank statements. With each revelation, Louis's composure cracked further. This is absurd, he sputtered. You can't what? I stood. Can't expose your affairs, your theft, your blackmail attempts. Shut up. He pointed at me. You want to talk about exposure? Tell them about Denver. Tell them what you did. Dead silence fell. All eyes turned to me. I took a deep breath. 8 years ago, I discovered fraud at my previous company. When I reported it, they tried to frame me as the perpetrator. Instead of running, I worked with federal investigators to expose the real criminals. The case was sealed to protect the investigation, but I have nothing to hide. She's lying. Louis's voice rose. She's trying to destroy me because you're stealing from my family? Olive's voice cracked. Because you're sleeping with half the executive floor. Because you threatened my sister. Olive, baby, please, don't. She held up her phone, playing the garage recording. Louis's threats echoed through the boardroom speakers. Mara gasped. Other board members shifted uncomfortably. Louis's face went from red to white. The police have been notified, Dad announced. They're waiting outside, but first, he turned to the board. We need to vote, all in favor of removing Louis from his position and pressing charges. Hands rose around the room. Even those who'd nodded during Louis's presentation now turned against him. You can't do this, Louis said. But his voice had lost its power. I built this company's international division. While stealing from it, Olive countered. Security will escort you out. The police will handle the rest. As security officers entered, Louis made one last desperate move. He lunged across the table, reaching for the laptop with the evidence. Santiago, who'd been quietly watching from the doorway, moved faster. He caught Louis mid-lunge, pinning him against the wall. "Touch my wife or her family again," Santiago growled, "and fraud charges will be the least of your worries." The police led Louis away in handcuffs. Through the boardroom windows, we watched him ducking into a patrol car, his perfect suit wrinkled, his carefully crafted image shattered. Mara approached us, tears in her eyes. "Olive, I'm so sorry. I had no idea." Olive hugged her tightly. "None of us did, not for a long time." "What happens now?" someone asked. Dad cleared his throat. "Now we rebuild. Starting with a full audit, complete transparency, and," he smiled at Olive, "the right CEO leading the way." As the board members filed out, Haley poked her head in. "Is it over?" I nodded, exhausted but relieved. "It's over. Good." She held up a bottle of champagne. "Because this calls for a celebration." Later, as we gathered in Dad's office, glasses raised, I watched my family, bruised but unbroken. Olive was already discussing recovery plans with the CFO. Mara and Haley were laughing about something. Santiago hadn't let go of my hand since the confrontation. "To truth," Dad proposed. "To family," Olive added. I raised my glass, finally free of secrets and shadows. "To new beginnings." The courthouse hallway buzzed with tension as we waited for Louis's arraignment to begin. 3 weeks had passed since the boardroom showdown, but the wounds still felt fresh. "You don't have to be here." Santiago squeezed my hand. "Yes, I do." I watched Olive pace nearby, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor. "We all do." Our lawyer approached, briefcase in hand. "They're ready. Remember, no outbursts, no matter what he says." Inside the courtroom, Luis looked smaller somehow. His expensive suit had been replaced by standard-issue orange, his usual swagger reduced to defeated shuffling. As the charges were read, embezzlement, fraud, forgery, extortion, I felt Olive trembling beside me. Mara reached across to hold her hand. "How does the defendant plead?" Louis stood. For a moment, his eyes locked with mine, and I saw a flicker of his old arrogance. "Not guilty, Your Honor." Olive's sharp intake of breath echoed through the quiet courtroom. "Very well. Bail is set at—" "Your Honor," the prosecutor interrupted. "Given the defendant's extensive overseas connections and the amount of money still unaccounted for, we request he be held without bail." Louis's attorney objected, but the judge agreed. As officers led Louis away, he turned suddenly. "Olive," his voice cracked. "Baby, please. Tell them this is all a mistake." Olive stood, her voice clear and strong. "The only mistake was trusting you." Outside, reporters swarmed us. Dad stepped forward, shielding his daughters from the cameras. "The family has no comment at this time," our lawyer announced. "However, Cooper Industries will be issuing a statement regarding the company's path forward." Back at the office, Olive buried herself in damage control. I found her surrounded by papers, her eyes red but determined. "The external auditors found another account," she said without looking up. "In Singapore this time." "How much?" "3 million. She finally met my gaze. Did I really miss all the signs? Was I that blind? "He fooled everyone." "Not you." She pushed back from her desk. "You saw through him from the start." "Why didn't I listen?" "Because you loved him." I perched on her desk. "That's not a weakness, Olive." "Isn't it?" She held up a photo from her desk, their wedding day. "Look at his face. He was smiling like that while stealing from us, sleeping around, threatening you." I took the photo and dropped it in the trash. "Then let's focus on what's next." Her computer pinged, an email from the prosecutor's office. As she read it, her face paled. "What is it?" "Louis's attorney." She swallowed hard. "They're offering a deal. If he returns the money and pleads guilty to reduced charges." "That's good, right? Saves us a trial." "There's more." She turned the screen toward me. "He wants to talk to me, alone." "Absolutely not. I need to know why, Willow." Her voice cracked. 10 years of marriage, and I never really knew him. I need answers. which is how we ended up at the detention center the next day, watching Olive walk into the visitation room alone. Through the observation window, I saw Louis in his jumpsuit, hands cuffed to the table. "She's got this," Haley assured me. 20 minutes later, Olive emerged, her face unreadable. "Well?" I asked. He confessed. She walked straight to the exit, to everything. Said he never meant for it to go this far, but once he started. Did he apologize? Oh, he apologized. She laughed bitterly. Right before asking me to write a letter to the judge requesting leniency. In the parking lot, she suddenly stopped. He said something else, about Denver. My heart stopped. "Olive." He told me the whole story, about how you discovered the fraud, how they tried to frame you, how you helped bring down the real criminals. She turned to face me. "Why didn't you tell me?" I was ashamed. Scared of how you'd react. Scared? She shook her head. "Willow, you were a hero. You did the right thing, no matter the cost." She hugged me fiercely. "I'm so sorry I let him use that against you." My phone buzzed, a news alert. Louis had accepted the plea deal. 15 years, full restitution, no possibility of early release. "It's really over," Olive whispered. But looking at my sister, seeing her strength, her resilience, I knew it wasn't over. It was a beginning, of healing, of rebuilding trust, of becoming the family we were meant to be. "Come on," I linked my arm through hers. "Dad's waiting. Something about a new company direction he wants to discuss." As we walked to the car, Olive squeezed my arm. "Thank you for not giving up on me." "Never," I promised. "That's what sisters are for." The autumn breeze carried the scent of grilled food and laughter across our backyard. Santiago manned the grill, while Dad and Mara argued playfully about proper burger flipping technique. Through the kitchen window, I watched Olive arranging a salad, her shoulders relaxed for the first time in months. "Need help?" I asked, joining her. "Actually," she pulled an envelope from her purse. "I need your opinion on something." Inside was a letter from Louis's attorney, requesting one final meeting before his transfer to federal prison. "You're not considering it?" "No." She tore the letter in half. "I just wanted you to know I'm done looking back." The doorbell rang. Haley burst in, waving a newspaper. "Have you seen this?" The headline read, "Cooper Industries launches Women's Business Initiative." Below was a photo of Olive and me at the program's announcement ceremony. "Dad's idea?" Haley asked. "Mine, actually." Olive smiled. "Using the recovered funds to help women start their own businesses, teach financial literacy, turn something ugly into something beautiful," I finished. Speaking of beautiful, Haley nodded toward the window. Outside, Santiago was showing Mara's daughter how to make the perfect s'more, while Dad set up the projector for our outdoor movie night. The scene looked like every family gathering should. Warm, genuine, free from shadows. "Dinner's ready," Santiago called. As we carried food outside, Olive grabbed my arm. "Wait, before everyone sits down." She handed me another envelope. "Open it." Inside was a legal document. My hands trembled as I read it. "Co-CEO?" I looked up. "Olive, I can't." "Yes, you can." She gripped my shoulders. "You saved this company, Willow. More importantly, you saved me. I want us to rebuild it together, the way Dad always intended. Is this a private sister moment, or can anyone join?" Mara peered, balancing plates. "Actually," I showed her the document. "What do you think about handling our international legal division?" Her eyes widened. "Really?" "Family business," Olive said simply. "Emphasis on family." Dad clinked his glass, gathering everyone around the table. The setting sun painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, making everything feel magical. "Before we eat," he said, "I want to say something." He looked at each of us in turn. "These past months have tested us, hurt us, but look at us now. Stronger than ever," Mara added. "And smarter," Olive smiled. "No more blind trust. No more secrets," I agreed. Catching Santiago's eye, He winked, knowing I'd finally told him everything about Denver. To new chapters, Dad raised his glass. And second chances, Olive added. My phone buzzed. A text from our lawyer. Lewis's transfer complete. Case officially closed. I switched off my phone without responding. Some chapters didn't need revisiting. Hey, Santiago pulled me close. You okay? Better than okay. I watched my family, Mara teaching her daughter to balance a loaded plate, Haley arguing with Dad about movie choices, Olive laughing at something Santiago's brother said. I'm home. Movie time, Mara's daughter announced, chocolate smeared across her face. As everyone settled into chairs and blankets, I heard Olive humming, an old song our mom used to sing. When she caught me watching, she didn't stop or look away. Instead, she smiled and continued, letting the melody carry across our gathering. The opening credits rolled, but I barely noticed them. I was too busy memorizing this moment. The warmth of Santiago beside me, the sound of my family's laughter, the feeling of finally being free from the weight I'd carried for so long. Pass the popcorn, Haley whispered, snuggling into her chair. And stop looking so philosophical. It's movie night, not therapy. I threw popcorn at her head, starting a mini food fight that had Dad rolling his eyes and Mara's daughter giggling uncontrollably. Children, please, Olive said in her best CEO voice, but she was fighting a smile. As peace restored and the movie played, I felt Santiago squeeze my hand. Proud of you, he murmured. I squeezed back, thinking of all we'd overcome. The blackmail, the threats, the fear. They'd tried to break us. Instead, they'd forged us into something stronger. Above us, stars began appearing in the darkening sky. The movie played on, but the real story, our story, was written in the quiet moments between scenes. In Olive's renewed confidence, in Mara's growing trust, in Dad's proud glances. In the end, it wasn't about revenge or justice. It was about family, about truth, about finding our way back to each other. And as I sat there, surrounded by love and laughter, I knew we'd found something better than victory. We'd found ourselves.